Amara Patel looked like every groom's dream, stunning, graceful, and full of secrets. Raj Malhotra thought he was marrying the love of his life, but by the end of their wedding night in Canada, one truth would turn passion into pure horror and love into a deadly confession. The Crime Scene presents a new page of crime, a new mystery, a new shock case. Amara Patel's wedding day looked like a dream out of a Bollywood movie. The Toronto skyline glimmered in the background, the mandip shimmered under golden lights, and laughter filled the hall. Dressed in a blood-red lehenga embroidered with crystals, Amara looked flawless, a picture-perfect Indian bride. Everyone thought she was the luckiest girl alive, marrying Raj Mehta, a software engineer who had just moved from India to start a new life in Canada. The cameras captured smiles, the guests danced, and the night was filled with promise. But behind Amara's calm eyes, something darker brewed, a storm she'd been hiding for months. Raj had fallen hard for her charm. To him, Amara was pure, traditional, the kind of woman his parents had always hoped he'd marry. But he had no clue she was living two lives. Beneath that sweet exterior, Amara carried a past she desperately wanted to bury. Her secret burned quietly under the layers of her bridal makeup and gold jewelry, waiting for the wrong moment to explode. When the reception ended and the guests left, the couple checked into a luxurious hotel suite for their wedding night. The soft music, rose petals, and chilled champagne made it look like a scene straight out of a romantic movie. But as Amara sat by the window, staring at her reflection, she couldn't shake the unease creeping up her spine. Raj noticed it, the tension in her shoulders, the way her phone never left her side. That night, when a message popped up on her screen, "Can't wait to see you again, my love red heart," everything changed. Raj's heart stopped cold. The fairy tale was over before it even began, and what followed would shake Toronto to its core. Raj froze as he stared at the glowing phone screen. The message wasn't from a random friend. It came from someone saved under the name Aaron. His pulse raced, his mind refusing to believe what his eyes saw. Just hours ago, he'd promised Amara forever, and now, on their wedding night, that forever felt like a lie. He glanced at her, calm, sipping wine, scrolling casually like nothing was wrong. But Raj's world had already started to crack. When Amara stepped into the bathroom, he picked up her phone again, his hands shaking. Message after message flashed before him, late-night texts, hotel receipts, and selfies that screamed betrayal. The guy wasn't just anyone. Aaron was a Canadian businessman, much older, someone who'd clearly been in Amara's life long before Raj entered the picture. The words, "I miss your touch," burned into his memory. He felt sick. By the time Amara came out, Raj's mind had gone numb. He smiled faintly, pretending nothing was wrong, but deep down, something inside him snapped. Every vow, every promise, every smile from earlier felt like a cruel joke. She had fooled him, his parents, his friends, everyone. As the hours passed, Raj's silence turned heavy. Amara sensed the tension but brushed it off, thinking he was just overwhelmed. But he wasn't quiet, he was boiling. Images of her with another man played on loop in his head. He couldn't sleep, couldn't breathe. The woman he loved had made a fool of him on the most important night of his life. By dawn, Raj's love had twisted into fury. The wedding suite that once felt like a dream now felt like a trap. And while Amara slept peacefully beside him, Raj's thoughts turned darker. Love had died, and revenge had begun to breathe. Morning sunlight spilled through the hotel curtains, cutting across the messy bed where Amara lay asleep. Raj sat at the edge, staring blankly at the floor, his mind replaying every detail of the night before. The warmth of the celebration was gone. In its place was a cold, burning rage that refused to fade. Every laugh they'd shared now sounded fake in his head. Every touch felt like manipulation. He couldn't shake the thought that everyone at the wedding had seen him as a fool, the man who married a liar. He quietly scrolled through Amara's phone again, this time reading deeper. There were photos, intimate ones, taken in hotels, on beaches, even a few from months before their engagement. Her double life unfolded right before his eyes, and each image pushed him further toward the edge. Aaron's messages revealed expensive gifts, trips to Toronto, and even whispers of marriage. It wasn't some random fling. It was an entire secret life Amara had built behind his back. When Amara finally woke up, she smiled lazily and stretched, unaware of the storm brewing inches away. Raj's eyes followed her every move, not with love anymore, but disgust. He couldn't understand how she could act so normal after everything. Every time she looked at him, he saw deception. Every time she touched him, it felt like poison. The rest of the day passed in eerie silence. Raj played along, acting calm while chaos brewed inside. His family thought they were the perfect newlyweds starting their honeymoon. But Raj was planning something else. His heart wasn't just broken, it was mutilated. And as the night drew closer, he started to imagine ways to make her feel the pain she had carved into him. What began as heartbreak was slowly turning into something far darker. That evening, the newlyweds attended a small post-wedding dinner hosted by Raj's cousin at a downtown Toronto restaurant. Everyone was laughing, toasting to their new life, and showering them with compliments. But behind Raj's fake smile, his mind was spiraling into a storm he could barely control. Every time Amara laughed or leaned close to him, he could see the images from her phone burned into his brain. The photos of her with Aaron haunted him. Her smile, the same one she was giving him now, felt like a mask covering a monster. He stared at her across the table, studying every expression. She looked relaxed, glowing in her red dress, completely unaware that he knew everything. His mother commented about how beautiful she looked, how lucky Raj was. That sentence made something inside him snap. Lucky? He felt like the biggest fool in the room. The woman everyone adored was the same one who'd betrayed him in the cruelest way possible. When the dinner ended, Raj drove them back to their hotel in complete silence. Amara thought he was just tired, but his silence was heavy, suffocating. As soon as they entered the suite, Raj excused himself to the bathroom, where he stared at his reflection for what felt like hours. He could barely recognize the man staring back, veins throbbing, eyes bloodshot, thoughts clouded with fury. He imagined confronting her, demanding the truth. But what would that fix? She'd lie again, maybe even cry her way out of it. The humiliation wasn't just about her affair. It was about how easily she had fooled him, his family, and everyone who believed in their perfect love story. By midnight, Raj made up his mind. If Amara wanted to live a double life, she wasn't going to live at all. The hotel room was eerily quiet, except for the faint hum of the city outside. Amara sat at the vanity, brushing her hair, unaware of the storm brewing just a few feet away. Raj sat on the edge of the bed, gripping his phone, the same phone that held the screenshots of her messages, the pictures, the proof of every lie she ever told. He replayed everything in his mind, the sweet talks, her shy smiles, her promises of love, and every word felt poisoned now. He stood up, pacing the room as if trying to outrun his thoughts. His breathing grew heavier with each step. Amara glanced at him in the mirror, confused by his sudden change in energy, but before she could ask, Raj's rage snapped like a whip. He grabbed her phone off the vanity, opened the messages she'd deleted, and threw it onto the bed. The sight of her own name in those explicit chats with another man made her freeze in shock. The color drained from her face. Raj's voice was low, trembling with fury as he confronted her, but Amara's denial only poured gasoline on the fire. The room became a battleground of betrayal and desperation. She tried to explain, to calm him down, but Raj couldn't hear anything over the pounding in his chest. Every word from her lips sounded like another lie. He felt trapped, mocked, destroyed. The woman he thought was his soulmate had played him like a fool. In a blind, emotional haze, Raj lashed out. The argument escalated into chaos, shouts, shoves, the sound of breaking glass. In that moment, his anger swallowed reason whole. By the time silence returned, Amara lay motionless on the floor, and Raj stood over her, his hands shaking as reality hit like a tidal wave. Raj stood in the middle of the hotel room, frozen in disbelief. The once luxurious bridal suite now looked like a crime scene, the bedsheets torn, the lamp shattered, and Amara lying still against the floor. The golden bangles she wore that morning glimmered faintly under the dim light, a haunting reminder of what was supposed to be the happiest night of their lives. His heart pounded so loud it drowned out every sound around him. For a long moment, he couldn't breathe. He didn't mean for it to go that far, or maybe he did, and his mind just refused to accept it. When the reality finally sank in, panic took over. Raj rushed to her, shaking her gently, whispering her name, but her body was lifeless. The warmth had already started to fade from her skin. He stumbled backward, hitting the wall, his palms streaked with her blood. The silence in the room was deafening, and it felt like the walls were closing in. His chest tightened as guilt and horror clawed their way through him. He tried to think, to fix it somehow, but there was no way back now. Raj splashed water on his face, grabbed a towel, and desperately tried to wipe the blood from his hands and shirt. He opened the curtains, then closed them again, pacing like a man possessed. The mirror caught his reflection, eyes bloodshot, face pale, trembling hands, and he barely recognized himself. Somewhere in the distance, sirens echoed faintly through the city streets, though they weren't coming for him yet. Raj picked up his phone, thought about calling for help, but couldn't. Instead, he sank to the floor beside Amara's body, staring at her lifeless face, the weight of his crime crushing him with every passing second. Morning sunlight slipped through the hotel curtains, revealing the nightmare in full. By the time police arrived, Raj was still there, sitting in silence beside Amara's body, his face blank, eyes empty. The crime scene looked like something torn from a horror movie. Broken glass, blood smears on the marble floor, and the bride still in her torn red wedding dress. Officers shouted commands, but Raj barely moved. It was like he'd already accepted his fate before anyone spoke a word. Detective Aaron Blake took one look at the scene and knew this wasn't just another domestic fight gone wrong. The rage that exploded in that room came from something deeper: betrayal, humiliation, and heartbreak mixed together. The evidence was clear: no forced entry, no robbery, just a brutal end to what was supposed to be a new beginning. They cuffed Raj quietly, his hands shaking but compliant, as he whispered something no one could quite catch. News spread fast across Canada and India. Social media blew up with headlines calling it the blood wedding. Everyone wanted to know what drove a man to destroy everything on the very night meant to celebrate love. Amara's secret life became the focus: old photos, online profiles, and messages proving she had been living double, maybe triple, lives. The press painted her as a manipulator, while others saw her as a victim trapped in her own lies. At the trial, Raj barely spoke. The courtroom sat in stunned silence as prosecutors described every detail of that night. When the verdict came, guilty of second-degree murder, Raj didn't flinch. He simply stared ahead, lost in the ghost of what he once loved. Behind all the noise, one truth remained: sometimes the most beautiful weddings hide the darkest secrets imaginable.